Dota 2 has many historic treasures which are now exceptionally expensive and utterly idiotic to unbox. Back from the days where treasures required keys and looked like this, and when Dota 2 players were desperate to spend $2.50 on a single sniper cape that looked like this. These treasures nowadays have almost entirely been removed from the game, and yet there are still a precious few left, and they still have the possibility to drop some really cool vintage items like unusual couriers, like the unusual baby Roshan. These treasures originally had a rare drop identical to CSGO knives in 2014, with about a 1 in 300 chance to drop an unusual courier back when the treasures looked like this. In this video, I'm going to investigate and unbox a ton of different vintage Dota 2 treasures, which from a logical perspective are entirely idiotic to open, and you will never see any sane person unboxing any of these items ever again. But for the sake of looking back at some of these items in Dota history, in this video, we're going to open a few of Dota 2's most interesting treasures. And we begin today with the treasure of the Emerald Polycount, which today costs $17. Its items are basically worthless, and again, I'm going to say this a ton in this video, but it makes absolutely zero sense to unbox these, but here we are. The best thing you can get from this treasure is an unusual courier drop, with this treasure using one of the earliest drop lists for these couriers, including things like Captain Bamboo, the Snell, the Itsy Spider courier, the very popular Tinkbot, and many others. This treasure historically has gone through maybe 3 or 4 different phases in Dota history, originally with the treasure chest item themselves dropping as free post-game drops for a period of time, which required a treasure key of the Emerald Polycount to unbox. A few years later, treasure keys were removed from the game and these treasures were unboxed without a treasure key. However, at that period of time, unusual couriers were removed from them as a drop, and here we are with a treasure that costs $17 with no prospect of getting a drop worth anything more than 60 cents. When treasure keys were removed from the store and eventually their function of opening treasures was removed entirely, all previously paid for keys were given a function in which you could trade in the key for any previously dropped treasure in its keyless form, which is where the majority of these exceptionally rare treasures are created today. I have a vintage treasure key item which is typically just held by collectors in their inventories, but I'm going to destroy it today for another idiotic chance at an unusual baby Roshan. I've decided to open the treasure of the Shaper's Divine, which uses the early version 3 drop list of unusual couriers, which includes the baby Roshan, as well as others such as the Enduring War Dog. This treasure is full of utter junk and costs over $22 today to purchase. The treasure key I destroyed to generate this treasure is worth a very similar amount, and there are some actually genuinely incredible drops possible here, but they're an exceptionally rare chance, and proportionally, understand this, unboxing this treasure is the same as placing a bet in a casino on a roulette table with 814 zeros. So let's place that bet and open this treasure. For this next treasure, I used an old trick to find out what my escalating odds are for old treasures which don't show this in the game anymore. And by doing this, you can find some treasures which might be close to or are guaranteed profit based on the amount of treasures you may have opened in the past. In this case, I found a very rare item for an old Trove Carafe treasure, was very close to dropping for me, which meant as long as I hit it within 10 unboxings, it would be profit. So let's open that. I explained that trick in more detail in my older video, which is linked in the description below. But in this case, the Trove Carafe 2017 has a very rare drop of the gold Trove Carafe 2017, which contains some items worth significantly less than that treasure itself, but has an escalating rare drop for the anti-mage gold item, which is worth significantly more than the treasure. It would take at least 5+ unboxings of these gold treasures to get the anti-mage, and probably many more than that, so only people with historical escalating odds on that treasure can ever benefit from opening them. This item being unboxed today is very uncommon to see, and I doubt that there is any footage of this item being created in the last 5 years. This item itself, the gold Trove Carafe, is very illiquid and would need to be sold at around 50% of its market value to actually get a sale on the Steam market, which is what I ended up doing. The unusual Jumo is one of the most expensive normal unusual couriers that you can unbox. In this context of old retired treasures, obviously there are some more expensive couriers like the unusual Gingerbread baby Roshan, which can actually drop in the Frostbloom unusual effect from the Frost of his treasure in 2023 and looks incredible. This courier actually sold last for around 12,000 US dollars, by the way. But back to the Jumo, this courier is massively inflated in price due to Chinese specific demand for this courier in unusual form, and it has a particularly stranger looking art style for Dota 2 at the time of its release. It also had some complications when it came out, which led to it having a slightly lower supply than otherwise intended. These combined factors have led to an unusual courier model more expensive than a baby Roshan. I'm going to unbox 6 of these treasures in an attempt to unbox the most expensive unusual courier that is possible to unbox, but I firstly want to show you 2 other vintage treasures. The treasure of Ember Essence. This treasure is among that group of very early Dota 2 treasures which were retired, re-released without keys, and then finally released again after treasure keys were removed from the game. This treasure is by far the cheapest you can currently unbox that has a full drop list of original unusuals. Because all other cheap treasures typically just include a single unusual courier which is possible to drop with unusual gems, the Ember Essence has many. But you are just going to get garbage from these treasures unless you are exceptionally lucky. Those other non-vintage unusuals I was talking about are visible in treasures like this, the Elemental Trophy. This treasure includes an unusual version of the Beaver Knight, but also includes the Beaver Knight itself as a rare drop, so it might fake you out and drop you the courier on its own but without unusual effects, which is always annoying. Those two don't have identical drop rates. The unusual version is significantly more rare. Before I open those 6 treasures of the Fractured Prism looking for the $800 unusual Jumo, I want to talk about the Soaring Cache. This is an old 2015 treasure which includes one of the very unique items in Dota 2. It's the only item which is not an Arcana or unusual courier that can use prismatic gems. Those gems are the color gems which change the color an unusual courier has for its unusual effects. There are 2 Arcanas in the game that can also use them to modify their particle effects. The Techie's Arcana as well as the Terrorblade Arcana can use them to change the colour that the Arcana is displaying. But interestingly, this Witch Doctor ward from the Soaring Cache can actually use those prismatic gems as well. And also, this is weirdly the only item which exists in the game that can be created with an empty prismatic slot, as by default, this item doesn't come with a prismatic gem and only contains an empty prismatic slot for you to put one in later. If you want to see what that item looks like with every colour effect that exists in Dota 2, I have a video covering exactly that. Back to the Soaring Cache. The extra UI option at the top describing the bonus cache drop is no longer active. There is no way to earn this drop and you can only purchase the bonus cache, but it's beyond reason due to its price. It's worth more in its treasure form than it possibly could contain. Also, interestingly, this bonus cache was released at a time where almost all treasures could not contain duplicate items, but this bonus cache specifically could contain duplicate items. At a time where it seemed like every treasure did not include duplicates, it was typical Valve fashion to only give you these bonuses after purchasing 8 of a full price treasure, and assuming that you understood that you were getting a completely random 1 in 5 roll each time, instead of being guaranteed the extra rare item you were inevitably looking for, the Witch Doctor ward, and assuming you were going to be guaranteed it after 5 bonus caches instead of it being a completely random drop every time.
Here, catch!
And just like that, you can delete $6.40. Okay, so finally, let's get into trying to unbox this unusual Jumo. I want to try the Beaver Knight to get rid of this last treasure, so I'll skip this. But anyway, I have 6 treasures of the Fractured Prism, and I'll just roll these as we go. If you can't tell on my channel, I don't really like treasure unboxing videos. I prefer to script what I say, so I avoid this type of content typically. But what I can say is that I'm surprised that these treasures in particular are the price that they are. For a drop which is so valuable, it seems like these are currently undervalued, and a lot of people don't know that the unusual courier drop is still active in the game, and it's possible that it's not really displayed anywhere, that people seem to think it doesn't exist anymore, but I've confirmed this in the game files as well as evidence from when people were posting their unusual courier drops that they were getting from opening the vintage treasures that you got from the Crownfall Caravan. But it does look like, unfortunately, at this time we're not going to be getting an unusual Jumo. I have opened these treasures before, and I've gotten the really annoying fake out where it drops the general courier in regular form. It gives you a bit of a fright when you see the courier and then it ends up not being unusual. When you unbox an unusual courier from these treasures, you do still get the brand new unusual courier drop UI that you get when you unbox an unusual hero item from one of the new treasures. So seeing that with an old item is a bit strange, but it does still work. Well, from 6 of those we got absolutely nothing, so I have some other interesting items that I want to open up after this, but that's all for the treasures. So now onto the rare gift items. I'm going to run through these quite a bit fast because I have a video on my channel that is a bit older in the past where I opened some similar items. So if you want some more detailed information about these items in particular, these gift boxes I'm going to open, check out this old video of mine that I posted a couple of months ago. But we're starting off here with the Bloom Bounty. The best thing you can get out of these is an auspicious arcana. There's not really much else in these that is worth a whole lot, and the drop list online on the wiki, for example, is very wrong for a lot of these items, but the Bloom Bounty in particular. So we got the Red Hoof Courier, which is the second most common drop behind the random common items. If you've gotten this far in this video, I'm going to be giving away a ton of the items I've unboxed in today's video on my Discord. If you're interested in weird Dota 2 collectibles and you'd like to win, for example, the Silencer Glaives I unboxed, which are worthless but cost me $22, and you'd like to collect weird signed items that have an interesting story behind them, you can join the Discord in the link in the description and enter the giveaways for free. I do also have giveaways for some naturally nice and valuable items as well that are going on at the same time, so you can enter those also. Next we have the Favor of the Shades. This item can give you also an Arcana quality item, I believe an auspicious quality as well, which is what we're hoping for. So let's go, and we got a rare drop. This is the Legion Commander weapon. I'll sign this and move on. Next we have the Wraith Knight Tribute. This is an item that drops a frozen quality item. It can drop an item from the Arcana list, which is the best possible thing you can get from this gift box. I think this gift was from the Wraith Knight event in 2013, and we got a frozen tiny rare. Single piece from a tiny set is a very strange thing to see on its own. So these last things I want to open are the summer sale rewards. They only drop items from the common and then uncommon drop list at this rarity. I don't think that there is a single way to make profit on these items whatsoever. They're better off in your inventory, but again, so was everything I opened in this video, but they're interesting to open and see. I know that these items have an equal chance to drop a useless compendium level item as well, which auto deletes when you restart the game, so hopefully we're not going to get that again. And we got some junk, and we got the level item again, so it's interesting to see, I guess, but it's going to be deleted, and the rest of the stuff I'm going to be giving away. If you've gotten this far, thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate it. I can only make videos like these thanks to my YouTube members. To put it into some context, a tier 1 YouTube member signing up is the same as 700 views on the channel, and all of my tier 2 members, I'm very grateful for you joining. Every single tier 2 member is the same as 4,000 or 5,000 views on a video, which makes so much difference to my ability to make these videos, and it's also because of the YouTube members that I'm able to turn down all of the terrible sponsorship deals that I get offered and keep the channel entirely gambling ad free. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you again to all of my YouTube members. Click the join button down below to have your name added to my inventory and shown at the end of every video, as well as access to my backlog of members only videos.